Hey everyone, and welcome back to the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I am, of course, joined by my fantastic friends, Jordan Green and Jake Priest.
Hello there.
Hello.
So, with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier over, we have a lot to talk about of stuff that happened in this episode. It was a big one, of course. And let's start off by diving into the new Captain America suit, because Sam Wilson is now officially Captain America, and he has a brand new suit from the Wakandans, and it looks awesome, right?
It does look really, really nice. It's nice to see that it seems to be quite heavily inspired by the comic version as well.
Yeah, it was a very cool introduction to it as well. He smashes through a window.
Yeah, it looks great, and it's very cool to see it being like comic accurate, you know? I do think it needs like a few little tweaks. It seemed quite bulky in the shoulders, especially. And I think the like headpiece didn't quite look right, but they have tons of time to like, you know, fiddle with it and perfect that before whenever Captain America's next appearance is in the MCU.
Just building off of that, there has been some leaks from credible sources that there's going to be a Captain America 4 movie with Sam Wilson at the helm as well, making it a bit more official.
Yeah, it's very exciting. First off, to be getting another Captain America movie, that's awesome. And also the fact that, you know, this is really cementing kind of Sam Wilson's place as Captain America. Both, we see him kind of cemented in that role in this episode, but kind of meta textually, the fact that they're giving Sam his own movie, just like Steve did. I think that shows that that Disney, that Marvel kind of has this faith in the character, and kind of to them, he is Captain America just as much as Steve was, and I think that's great.
Yeah, definitely, because not every general audience like viewer would go and watch the Disney Plus series. So,
and perhaps we'll get to see the new Falcon in it as well. Perhaps.
Speaking of Captain Americas, John Walker, he's back, and he kind of has a little redemption arc. He tries to dig Carly and some of the Flag Smashers hand to hand, and there's a scene, but a situation that arises where he has the choice to either go after Carly or save a group of hostages from being killed by falling off some scaffolding, and he drops the shield he's made and decides to rescue the hostages instead, which is a nice moment for him.
Yeah, we talked in a previous episode of how Walker is, we think, he is a good person. He was just put into a bad situation with like so much pressure that was kind of mounted on him, which we saw especially in like episode 4. So it is good to see him kind of redeeming himself, and I personally thought he was going to like come in and kill Carly and then fight Captain America and the Winter Soldier. That didn't happen. I'm glad it didn't happen. It's cool to see him kind of slightly being redeemed. And of course, later in the episode, we see him once again with Julie Louis-Dreyfus's Val, and it got a US agent suit, which is pretty much just his Cap suit, but in black. But, I mean, that's very accurate to what US Agent wears in the comics, which is the kind of supervillain alter ego he takes on after he leaves the mantle of Captain America. But it's going to be interesting where they go with that character, because he's kind of redeemed here. He's clearly not like a bad person. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But his new suit looks really cool, I think.
I'm interested in where that character's going to fit in the MCU. Like, is he going to get his own show, or is he going to get like inserted like in like Captain America 4, for example, or what?
Well, like Val seems to be kind of like a anti-Nick Fury was in kind of like the first phase. So she's seemingly maybe putting a team together, whether that's like a version of the Thunderbolts or some kind of Dark Avengers type of team. Who knows? We'll certainly find out. So maybe that'll be a separate project, like its own thing. Maybe there'll be like a team of villains that the Avengers have to face against, or Young Avengers have to face against. It'll be interesting, but with Captain America 4 coming up, maybe he'll be in that.
I think there's definitely potential for him to show up in Captain America 4.
Well, speaking of like threads left over from this show that could be continued in the 4th Captain America, we find out in this episode the identity of the power broker, and as all three of us and probably every audience member at home guessed, it's Sharon Carter.
Whoa, what a twist!
What a twist! Who could have seen it coming?
Surprise!
Oh my god! Oh my god.
Didn't see that coming.
They were not subtle with this at all. We saw it coming a mile off. Yeah, she's the power broker. What a surprise. And she is at the end in a post-credit scene as well. The only one in for the finale of the show. she is pardoned by the US government and has now got free reign over America. So she's going to be bringing her own evil power broker deeds to the country. Though she was also talking on the phone at the end with like an unknown person, whether or not that's a comic character or just meant to be someone who works under her. Who's to say? But I think like her appearing in Captain America 4 seems like a pretty good possibility.
And you know who else we better see alive in Captain America 4?
Who's that, Jake?
Goddamn Batroc!
Whoa!
Because what happens in this episode is that he gets shot by Callie right near the end, but we don't actually see his body afterwards. We see him fall over, but we don't actually see him physically dead. So it's a bit ambiguous, so he could come back.
Jumping from Sam's story to Bucky's, we finally get a bit of closure for him and his notebook. He goes back to revisit the old guy from the first episode, and he finally tells him the truth of what happened with his son in a fairly emotional scene. We don't get to see his full explanation to the man, but you can tell in the bits we do that Bucky is shaking while doing it. But it's nice. It's nice to see him get closure in it, and he leaves a present behind for his therapist at the end as well, which is the notebook with all names crossed out. So it's really nice to think that Bucky went through and has finally conquered his demons in this.
Not to say that I called the fact that him like telling the truth to the old man would be the final scene of Bucky's emotional arc in this series, but I did. So that.
Humble as always, Craig. Humble as always. And speaking of old men, we actually get to see Zemo's butler. He comes back in it, and he actually kills the last members of the Flag Smashers. And then we get taken to a little scene of Zemo kind of tiny bit fourth wall breaking, just turns and smiles at the camera.
But yeah, and Zemo, of course, is now in the Raft, which is once again run by General Thaddeus Ross, who is, of course, another member of the Thunderbolts. So whether or not they're like prepping to set that up later, we'll see. And then at the close of the show, Sam actually takes Isaiah Bradley and his nephew, who will eventually become Patriot, to the Captain America Museum. We saw in episode 1 with when him and Rhodey went through it, looking at all of Capsule memorabilia and stuff. And there is an entire section now dedicated to Isaiah Bradley and his story and the things he went through, which I think was a great way to kind of bring that part of the story to a close. And there was a really brilliant speech that Sam makes earlier in the episode to a couple of the like high-powered politicians about kind of unifying the world and like kind of all the issues that the show has brought up and addressed throughout its runtime. And I thought that was like a really great sequence, and so was the end bit with Isaiah Bradley. You know, the way they handle all these things has at times felt maybe a little bit heavy-handed.
Clunky.
And clunky, yeah. But I think it's so important for those issues to be addressed. And I don't think it's something that we could ever talk about that much, because we're not really that well educated in those.
What, 3 straight white men?
Yeah, we're maybe not the best to talk about it, but I very much, I know all three of us very much appreciate that stuff being told through this medium and through it in a show that so many kids are going to watch and so many families are going to watch together. I think it's incredibly important. And it seems like it's going to be something that the MCU continues to address, certainly with Captain America 4 as well. I'm sure there'll be elements of that continuing on. But I thought it was a really great sequence, and it was a very satisfying moment to see that kind of statue of the young Isaiah Bradley.
It really was, yeah.
So with that, guys, is there any final things you wanted to say before we wrap up our coverage of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Just that it was a really good story. It was thoroughly enjoyable, and Sam Wilson looks really good in the new cap suit, and I can't wait for the new film.
I really enjoyed it. I probably liked it a little bit more than WandaVision. A lot of cool action, and they tackled some heavy themes, and I think they did it for the most part quite well.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching the show. We've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun making these videos as well. Thank you for watching this video and every video. We will be back to cover Loki, of course, when that releases on June 11th. And I think in the meantime, we're going to try a few different things out. You know, we have some ideas we want to do. You know, maybe talking about some of our favorite franchises and Marvel and DC and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that as well.
Don't forget to whack-a-mole, guys.